But let's solve the problems of the world with Gemma Tonyuni here on the desk with me and Caroline DeRusso, host of the Royal Report, joining us from the West again. Let's start on the cost of living because that's the number one issue, Caroline. And this astonishing research that's come out now saying that we are paying in our homes, domestic electricity consumers are paying $1,000 more for the same amount of electricity as businesses are paying. Why would domestic consumers be ripped off compared to businesses?
I'm actually not sure, and I'm very interested in this and digging into this because, you know, there was that big furore at the end of 2022 about capping wholesale energy prices and the like. So what has happened there? What has that actually produced? And although obviously businesses in a sense use more energy in an aggregate sense, obviously with those sorts of price increases in a proportional sense, that's really, really difficult for families who are already struggling. So we know that this government has tweaked and done certain things in the energy industry. Can someone please explain to us why it has produced such an absurd result? Yeah,
look, a couple of things about this, Gemma. One is, if there's a business that's using a hell of a lot of electricity, you think you're going to get it at a lower price. But also at a base level, electricity is electricity. You should just all get a pretty similar price. This is information from the Australia Institute, which is a very left-wing think tank. I know the ABC now just called them an economic think tank. Well, they're pretty much a hard left, a socialist left economic think tank. But it does seem worrying.
It's extremely worrying, but it's not just the substantive claims that they're making. It's, as Caroline pointed out, the overall shambolic state of our energy mix, of our plan, of our grid, this constant state of intervention versus no intervention. You know, going back, really, it's the greatest policy failure in Australian political recent history, going back not just with respect to the Coalition. The Coalition, when it came back in after Rudd, had an opportunity to look at energy and it didn't, and we are paying the price of that inaction. The Rudd-Gillard, Rudd-Abbott, blah, blah, blah years, and we're all paying the price of that now. We do seem to have a bit of a glimmer of hope with the discussion around nuclear, which has taken great courage to lead. It is the only obvious a sensible step. And for full disclosure, I have no work in the nuclear space. I have no work in that space.
It'll take a long while. And so far, all the major parties are net zero. But you're right, it is a glimmer of hope. You might wonder with that electricity price problem and the general cost of living prices, what the Prime Minister is doing to fix it all. Well, here he was on the weekend. There he is. He loves a concert, doesn't he, Caro?
He does love a concert. I also love a concert. And ordinarily, I would not have an issue with this sort of thing. And I think in times gone by, prime ministers and politicians, they did get to have private time and they did get to have some sort of semblance of a personal life. Unfortunately, a lot of that was stripped back for very base and cynical political purposes in the last government. And now I'm a little bit irritated by the hypocrisy. I'm not irritated that he's gone to a concert or anything like that, but the fact that the same respect that was afforded in the past was not afforded to members of the coalition government in the last government. And now all of a sudden we've gone back to, it's all okay again.
Well, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think Scott Morrison, we all know that Scott Morrison made mistakes when it came to Hawaii, but the Labor Party just excoriated him for that relentlessly, Gemma.
Totally.
And the thing is that Albo's got a bit of form here, right? He was days on end at the tennis when he wouldn't go up and have a look at the Indigenous crime problems in Alice Springs. And he wasn't just at a concert Friday night with Taylor Swift. The next night he's at a billionaire's mansion in Melbourne having a look at Katy Perry. He seems to be the party PM.
I wonder if they discussed the two-state solution at Mr Pratt's house, Chris. I mean, this is... there's merit to what you've both said, and I agree that the sort of restraint has been hypocritical, but what you've got here, as you said, Chris, is a Prime Minister with form. You have got... Forget the cost of living stuff, which is day-to-day, right? There is no appearance of a Prime Minister who's focused on the job at hand. Like, his job is to serve the people. That's why they call it the public service. They're there to serve us, not to just party like it's, 21-year-old Gemma. Like God bless him for his dad dancing. But there are people who's lost homes and the fires in Victoria. Has he been back to Alice Springs since the defeat of The Voice? Has he been up to Queensland to look at, it's a state problem, but he's the Prime Minister. We've got a rising, disgraceful problem with anti-Semitism in this country. It's like, and I've said this before, he has forgotten he's the bloke who doesn't just have the responsibility to lead, but he has the moral obligation to lead. And we're not seeing it.